Hello, hello, hello. It is midsummer. For many of you, actually, some of you are starting in August. So it's almost like your summer is winding down, right? And at the end of the summer, I've noticed this. Well, I notice this all the time, but particularly at the end of the summer, there's like a high level of mom burnout. And I'm not going to talk necessarily about burnout, but I do want to talk about capacity. So I think of this phrase like, I don't have the capacity for that, or, I have limited capacity. I use the word capacity quite often. And to me, it really is, if you think about, a 2-liter bottle like of soda or whatever, and that capacity is, 2 liters of liquid. And if that bottle is full of, let's just say Coke or soda, then it doesn't have a lot of capacity for adding anything extra to it, right? And then at other times, if you had, emptied out half of it, you served half of it, then that liter bottle would have greater capacity, right? So think about that in terms of being a mom, that, we have so many things going on all the time and so much pressure on us, and there's so many demands that there are times where we don't have capacity. So I want to give you some tools and tips of how to handle it when you don't have the same amount of capacity that you wish you had, or you're not able to show up as the mom you want to be. And I'm going to, talk about that. Before I get into it, I want to tell you this story of when Lincoln was 5. I started working with a therapist. Her name is Jeanette Yoff, and she actually sort of changed my life. And what I did was I met her at some workshop type of thing that she was a speaker at. And she was describing, essentially dysregulated children's behavior and out of bounds behavior. And I was experiencing that with my son. And I, as many of you listen to this podcast and you have kids who have out of bounds behavior, or they're dysregulated a lot, or you are and you want support, and then you found me and you find this podcast and you're like, oh my God, she gets it, right? And you're so relieved. Well, my darling, her name was Jeanette. And when I met her, I just thought, oh my gosh, she can help me. I could just tell that she had the magic or the gold or whatever. And I went up to her after the workshop, which is actually not my personality. It would seem like I'm, very gregarious, but in reality, I get a little bit like I'll just go to my car. But anyway, I met her after the workshop, and I said, everything you described sounds like my almost 5-year-old. You said you don't see people until they're 5, but I don't know what to do. I'm desperate. And, I was probably maybe tearing up. And she said, no, I'll see you. Call me. Here's my card. And it started just an incredible learning and growth for me. And it was the beginning of my transformation as a parent. So how that worked back then was Lincoln and I went to attachment therapy together. So it was play-based therapy in Jeanette's office, and Lincoln and I went together. And so I was learning all of the tools and skills that I teach you in my courses. I was learning those in real time with Jeanette. She would model and I would do it. And she'd say, well, mommy can do this too. And, she's incredible. She still is in practice in Los Angeles. And we can link her website in the show notes. But I would go to these sessions and, we did all sorts of activities and different, we blew up a volcano. One of the tools I sometimes teach is giving kids an old yellow pages or old magazines and letting them rip all the pages up and show us their big feelings and rip those pages up and, make a big, big mess. And then mommy or mom can handle all your big feelings, and mom can handle your messy feelings. And then in the process, the mom, myself or you or whoever, will get a pillowcase and put all those ripped pieces of paper in the pillowcase. And then it's an analogy, really a metaphor to show like, your big feelings aren't scary for me. You can be really messy with them. It's okay. And look, I can handle them and I can hold them for you. So isn't that beautiful? So that's one of the things I learned from Jeanette. I learned so many things from her. And how it would work is that I would go to her office and Lincoln and I would go, and my younger son would stay with my best friend, Tiffany. I have talked about Tiffany a little bit. I feel like she needs to be on this podcast because she is incredible. And she's a therapist. She's also a life coach. She's trained in all sorts of modalities. She's an incredible person. And I'm super lucky to, call her my best friend. So she would watch Sawyer and I would go to the therapy with Lincoln. And then I would come home and I would tell her all the things I learned because she also had little kids the same age. And at that time, I really started to dive deep into nonviolent parenting, beyond consequences, unconditional parenting, all of the different philosophies that, I now have embedded in one philosophy. And so we would talk about it. And this is why I'm telling you this story, is that I remember standing in Tiffany's kitchen and telling her all the things that I was learning. And essentially I was saying to her, yeah, so what we do is when our kids are having a meltdown or, a temper tantrum, we're supposed to, I'm teaching her, we're supposed to, not address the behavior. We're supposed to talk about the feelings and help them with their feelings and then, process that negative emotion. And then at that time, I didn't know what to do after that, but essentially, and then you set a limit and whatever. And she turned to me and she said, Dar, that's what my friends call me. She said, Dar, that is therapeutic parenting. And I was like, yeah, I think you're right. Yeah, it's therapeutic parenting. And she goes, you can't do that all the time. That's impossible. And I realized in that moment that what I was asking of myself and what I was teaching, what I was believing, was this type of parenting that required a very high level of intention, of self-regulation, all with this, and the purpose is to help emotionally coach your kids. And at the time I said to her, I said, well, I don't have a choice. I have to learn how to do this. I have to figure this out. It's going to help my kids so much. And she's like, yeah, it's just hard. I was like, I know. And really, the Calm Mama process that I teach, calm, connect, limit, set, correct, it's a therapeutic parenting hack. I needed to figure out a way to do it all the time, to access these tools and skills of therapeutic parenting and make them mainstream for myself. And in the process of doing that, I've made them mainstream for all of you on this podcast and anybody who works with me. So it's incredible. The Calm Mama process works. It's amazing. You calm yourself, you emotionally coach your kids, you're firm with your limits, and you follow through, let your kids make mistakes, let them experience the impact of their decisions with consequences. Okay, that's the process. And it's amazing. And I know some of you listening to this episode, you're super fans, right? You love my podcast and you really are applying it. And some of you are my clients and you've taken my classes. So you know a lot. You got to know what to do. And I want to say that there are times where you know what to do and you still can't do it. I want you to see that in that moment where you can't emotionally coach your kids, you can't regulate yourself, you are experiencing a period of low capacity. You just don't have it in you. And I want to normalize that for you because one of my I don't know, it's not pet peeves, but one of the things that I care strongly about is that moms don't burn out and that moms don't feel like shit. That moms on a deep, deep level have calm. And the access to calm is self-compassion. So the last thing I ever want to do is perpetuate any sort of pressure that you have to be the perfect parent. But I teach a parenting podcast. So I want to normalize that we have this ideal. We have the Calm Mama process. It works. It's accessible to us. It makes emotional coaching your kids, gentle parenting, connected parenting, it makes it easy to access. Easy to access, not always easy to do. Okay? So if you have a period of time, a day, an hour, a month, a week, a season, a whole year, where you can't show up like this, that's okay. It's fine. I said this in the class last week in the emotionally healthy kids class that I was teaching. I was teaching them that it's not like some sort of balance sheet where you have to for every time you yell at your kids, you have to also do emotional coaching in order to not fuck them up or something. And I don't see it that way. I think you're going to yell at your kids. You're not going to have capacity. You're not going to always emotionally coach. That's just a given. But every time you are capable and you have capacity to show up as a calm mama, to practice the calm mama process, your kids benefit like algorithmically or whatever, logarithmically. I don't know what that word is, but tenfold is what I'm trying to say. So anytime that you are able to practice the calm mama process and be calm and connect with your kids, they have long-term benefits. You're not negating those benefits because sometimes you don't show up that way. Is that making sense? I hope so. So why would you not be able to, show up? Maybe you're busy. Maybe you have something going on in your life, like you're moving, or one of my dear friends, her son's bar mitzvah's coming up and they're doing a lot of prep and all that. And so she just doesn't have a lot of time. She doesn't have a lot of capacity, right? Sometimes we're going through something emotionally as moms, we're healing. I have, people that I've worked with that are healing from, anxiety or depression or eating disorders or, alcoholism or any of those, kind of situations that require a lot of intention, a lot of quiet, a lot of self introspection. And so those are periods of time where you might not have a lot of capacity. You could be grieving, when someone passes away, maybe you don't, someone close to you, your parent or your sibling or a very good friend, that in that period of time, you probably aren't able to show up as the mom you want to be. You might be ill. I recently had COVID and I was tired, crazy, go night-night tired, pregnancy, newborns, right? So there are going to be periods of time where for whatever reason, you're not able to, you don't have the capacity to parent the way you want to parent. You just can't show up. And that is okay. So here are some strategies of how to handle it when you're in that place. The first thing I want to offer to you is to be honest with yourself. I once wrote this article about radical honesty, and it was radical listening and then radical honesty. So it's I want you to learn how to really look at what's going on for you. If you find yourself yelling at your kids a bunch or barking at them or being short with them or ignoring their big feeling cycles, ignoring their temper tantrums, letting them get away with things, being really permissive, any of those kinds of behaviors, I'd like you to be honest and be okay, I'm showing up this way, or I'm, showing up in a way I don't want to. That must mean that I don't have the capacity to show up the way I want to show up. When you are honest and you say, okay, I don't want to read books to these people tonight. I don't want to emotionally coach this big feeling cycle. I don't have the patience to ride through this temper tantrum. I can't take kids to the mall. I can't do this. I need to let my house be a mess. I don't want to focus on getting all organic products in my house, right? I just want to serve cereal for dinner. When you are in that place, I want you to be honest, oh, I'm in that place. I'm in the place of low capacity. Just naming it, just labeling it, just narrating it back to yourself. Oh, I'm not a piece of shit. I'm not a terrible person. I'm not a lazy asshole. I'm not a loser, right? This is what we do. Instead, just look at how you're acting and then be honest and say, I have low capacity. And then start to go through and set boundaries, which I'm going to teach you how to, kind of how to communicate what you can or can't do. What I notice is that a lot of times parents, when instead of just being honest with themselves about their capacity, they'll be aware of what they're doing, like, where they're not showing up. And then they're just so mean. So in addition to being honest with yourself, I want you to be kind to yourself. When you notice that you don't have as much capacity, I want you to be kind. Just accept where you are. One of the things I tell myself is like, this is temporary. I'm not going to be the type of person, well, unless I wanted to be, but I'm not going to be the type of person who serves cereal to my children for dinner for the rest of their lives. Unless you want to serve cereal, I actually don't care. But it's just an example, right? If I don't want to feed my kids cereal, and I am, then I need to remind myself, I'm just here. This is where I'm at right now. This is what I can do. This is all I've got. And then that's okay. I want to accept it, and I don't want to be mean to myself. I don't want to tell, oh my God, you're such a bad mom. Look at how bad you are. Like, you don't need to add that negative story, because then it leads to guilt. And then you go, well, I shouldn't do this. So I'm going to go outside of my boundary or outside of my capacity. And then I'm going to make dinner for them and, do the right thing. And I'm going to go figure out all the organic products, or, okay, fine, I'll drive them to the mall. And your guilt might drive you to not being honest with yourself. Your guilt might motivate you to do the things you don't want to do. But that leads long-term to burnout. When you don't hold your own boundaries, you're setting yourself up for long-term burnout. And you're also setting yourself up for resentment towards your kid or resentment towards your partner. You're going to seethe in that mom rage of like, this is not right. But really, only you can hold your boundary. The only person that can hold your boundary is you. So you have to be honest with yourself. What is it that I have capacity for? What is it that I don't have capacity for? And then be kind about the answer. Okay, that's all I've got. That's what I'm capable of. When you do things outside of your own capacity, say you try to emotionally coach your kids, and you actually don't care about their big feelings, but you heard on this podcast that you're supposed to say like, oh, are you feeling sad? So you're like, I have to do that. When you emotionally coach your kids and you don't want to, or you don't have the capacity to do it, and deep down you're like bitter towards them, that is the experience they're going to have of your connection. They're going to experience your resentment. They're going to experience your bitterness. So instead of faking it, I would rather you just not do it. I teach this concept called neutral listening, and then it leads you to compassionate listening. So neutral listening is when your kid is complaining, grumpy, like going through a big feeling cycle, and you're not like, you're not really helping them through it. The neutral listening tool is like, oh, oh, really? Huh, yeah, geez, woo, hard, huh, okay, yep, you're nodding, but you're not really listening, right? Because you don't really care in that moment. It's not that you don't care about your kid, you don't have it in you. So it's like, that's a fake it one, right? You're just kind of fake compassion. But your kids absolutely know that you're faking it. They're like, you're not even listening to me. And you're like, you're right. I'm not, right? And I think it's okay to be honest. I think it's okay to say, no, I'm not listening to you, honey. Mommy does not have the energy for this. I love you and I like listening to you, but I don't want to right now. I think it's absolutely okay to communicate your boundaries and your limits and your capacity to your kids. What moms often do is they don't communicate clearly with kind compassion. Instead, they wait till they're very angry or very overwhelmed or very frustrated, and then they yell, just stop it already. That's enough. You're so ungrateful. You're always complaining, right? Then you're all of a sudden dumping all your negative emotion on your kids because you weren't holding a boundary earlier. So being honest, like, I don't have it in me. Faking it, but knowing your kid is not going to believe you. They're not going to, like, you cannot fake compassion. You just can't. So when you don't have it, you don't have it. Don't do it. If you don't want to take your kids to the mall, don't. If you don't want to read books, don't. If you don't have the patience to write a big feeling cycle, don't. If you want to serve cereal for dinner and you can't, you can't serve carrots, don't. I would like you to have a lot more grace towards yourself, a lot more kindness, a lot more love. I love you no matter what you do. Like, you show up and you don't serve carrots, who cares? But what I want you to do is take care of yourself, take excellent care of yourself so that you have capacity later. I want you to be able to move through these periods of time where you're ill or you have a newborn or you're late pregnancy or you're really busy, you have a big project or your marriage is falling apart, whatever. Just going through these experiences with as much kindness towards yourself as possible so that when you're on the other side of them, you have more capacity for your kids. Because ultimately, I care the most about your mental health and your children's, your emotional well-being and theirs. And I know that more you take care of yourself, the more capacity you have to support them in their growth, in their emotional health. Little rant, sorry, but I just feel very strongly that you can hold your own boundaries. You can say no. Like, you can say no, mamas. Now, sometimes you say yes when you want to say no. And I call that rescuing. I think of it as rescuing. And I don't mind a good rescue because when you say, well, here's the truth. When you say no to somebody, like your kid, maybe you have a 13-year-old and they're like, Mom, can you drive us to the mall? And then we're going to see a movie. And then can you come back at in 3 hours and pick us up? And you're looking at your life, you're looking at your tiredness, you're looking at picking them up at 9:00 and you're like, I don't want to. I want to go to bed early. I want my kids home. I want to watch TV. I don't want to get up and go at 9:00 and go pick up people from the mall. So I think you can just be like, no, I love you. And I love when you go see your friends, but I'm not taking you to the mall. I'm not able to take you to the movies. Just say no. Now, the truth, you all know this. What happens when you say no? Your people freak out, right? People have big feelings when they're told no. That's totally normal. When you say no to someone's request or when you aren't able to show up to life in the way that your partner would like you to, or your mom or your mommy friends or your sister or whoever or yourself, it does create short-term discomfort. The other person is disappointed. They are sad. They are frustrated. It's okay. It's okay for your kids or your partner to be disappointed. But sometimes we can't handle their big feelings. It's too much for our nervous system to have our 13-year-old be like, you're the worst mom in the world. You suck. You never say yes. You're always, all the other moms do this. You're so strict. Okay, that's just a big feeling cycle, 13-year-old version. And if you don't have the capacity to stay calm, you don't want to deal with it, sure, rescue yourself. Go drive those people to the mall. That's fine. It's okay to rescue sometimes. It's okay to go outside of your boundary sometimes. And you're rescuing yourself from the shit show, right? That's okay. But don't do it all the time. When you are people pleasing and you are going outside of your boundary, when you say, I don't want to do something and I'm going to do it anyway, for one, you're not modeling great things, especially for your girls. But who cares about modeling? It breeds, I care about modeling, but that's not a good enough reason. When you rescue, it breeds resentment. That's just how it goes. The rescue resentment cycle. So the more you rescue, the more you're going to feel bitter and resentful, either towards your kids or to your partner. That happens a lot. we go outside of our boundaries in order to protect our children from having negative emotion. And then we're mad at our partner for making us do it because they don't do their part. And a lot of times our partners, they have like better boundaries. They're like, just say no. Who cares if they're mad? And then as the mom, we're like, no, we can't make them mad. I have this right now in an issue with my kids and my husband. It's not a big deal, but I'll talk about it another time on the podcast. But I want to like rescue my kid from their negative feeling, and I'm going outside my boundary. The truth is, it's just with teaching Sawyer to drive. And I'm very uncomfortable teaching him to drive, but I'm like, grin and bear it, because he has to learn, and he has to learn by this date because that's when he can get his driver's license. And my husband is like, no, he can wait till we're ready. But then that's like, no, he can't wait. Like, I have a conflicted emotion when I have to have my kids wait for something, or when they're disappointed, or when they're sad. So then I rescue them, and I rescue myself from their discomfort. That is people pleasing. And it breeds resentment. And I might displace my resentment and put it on my partner because I don't want to, I don't want my kid to be disappointed. So do it a little bit, but don't do it all the time. Okay? This is, again, I don't want you to feel bad if you do it, if you rescue. Just notice when you do it and why. The other bummer about rescuing, and this is more of a parenting issue, is that it doesn't, you rob your kid an opportunity of being disappointed. Like, it's good for our kids to have their big feelings and to learn how to move through those big feelings. It's very, very, very healthy for our children to have that. So, when you rescue them, you're actually like robbing them of that chance. So how do you communicate your limits and your boundaries and what your capacity is? With kindness. Imagine your kid wants to play with you. They're, mommy, play with me. Maybe even earlier you said, I'll play with you after I finish these dishes. And then you finish the dishes and they're like, mommy, play with me. You can say no. You can say it. I would like to offer you a script. I love you, but I don't have energy to play with you right now. I can sit next to you. I can read my book while you play. We can be together, but I'm not playing cars right now. I'm not playing dolls right now. I'm not playing house right now. I'm not playing tent right now. Imagine you had told the kids, like, you're going to go to the movies, or you're going to go to the pool, or you're going to go to the park, or you're going to have a play date. And then you're honest with yourself and you're like, I can't do it. I can't go be with those moms. I can't go in that environment. I need to be at home. I don't have it in me. You can turn to your children and say, listen, this might make you upset, and it's okay if you get upset, but I'm not able to take you to the movies /pool/friend's house today. I know I said we would go, but I realize that I can't make that happen, so we're not going. That's boundary work. It's just holding your own needs, making your needs important, being honest about what you have capacity for, being kind with yourself, and then communicating what you have capacity for and being kind about it. You can communicate it like, sorry, I'm not taking you kids to the pool today. We're having an at-home day. I love you and I want to help you with your feelings, but not now. Right now, it is time to get your shoes on and get in the car. It's okay to say we don't have time for these big feelings right now. We can talk about it when we get home. It's okay to set limits. You can say, your feelings make sense, but I'm not open to listening to you cry and complain about this right now. You can keep talking, but I'm not going to engage. I love you, but I need a minute. A lot of times I just notice that people, not just moms, but people aren't slow when they set a boundary. They're not soft when they set a boundary. They come out harsh. They come out fast. They come out heated. I said, no, I'm not doing that. I told you, right? We get so harsh, and I really think it has to do with not being honest earlier, not setting it up, not feeling like we have the permission to say no, the permission to take care of ourselves. So maybe this is just permission, this episode, right? It is okay for your kids, your partner, other moms, your kids' friends' moms, the teacher. It is okay for people to be angry with you. This is a hard thing to accept. This is what we're protecting ourselves from a lot of times, is other people's thoughts and feelings about us. And I'm going to offer to you that even if you're perfect, people will still have negative thoughts and feelings about you because they have negative thoughts and feelings. You cannot control other people's thoughts and feelings by being a people pleaser, by being perfect. They're going to have those feelings, and you're not actually responsible for other people's feelings. You don't have to fix anyone else's feelings. You don't have to people please your way out of other people's discomfort. You don't have to go outside of your boundary, outside of your capacity to make sure other people are happy. You are entitled to showing up with honesty about what you have capacity to do or not do. So, is this therapeutic parenting that I'm teaching you in other episodes of this podcast? Yes, right? It's a therapeutic model in that fact that maybe that's a weird phrase if you don't know what I mean, but we are helping our children process negative emotion and learn emotional regulation skills. That used to be only taught in a therapeutic place. And you're taking that goal and you're bringing it into the home, which is incredible, mamas. What a gift to give your kids these skills, these tools when they're kids, for you to be learning how to emotionally regulate and allow for negative emotion with your kids and grow your own emotional health. You're reparenting yourself as you parent your kids. Beautiful model. Amazing. You are amazing parents. And it's hard. Like Tiffany said, you can't do that all the time. And I want you to know it's okay if you can't. It's okay to be honest with yourself in the moment, in that season of your life, in that day, in that week. What do I have capacity for? Being kind. Okay, I only have capacity for this. That's okay. I'm okay. I'm going to communicate that with love and kindness to my kids. I'm going to let them have their big feelings about it. I know that big feelings are temporary. When you do this, when you take excellent care of yourself, your capacity grows. It grows. It's like when I had COVID. I had to rest for a whole week, and it was 10 days. It was intense, actually. I had never had COVID. And I was tired. And then I got better, and I was like, oh my God, I have so much energy. I was staying up till 11, which is late for me. And I just was a new lease on life, I've had deep grief. I lost my mom. I lost my sister. I lost one of my best friends. And I know that in that period of time, in that period of mourning, just so tired and so overwhelmed and so exhausted. And then I come out the other side. I'm like, oh, hi, darling. Here you are. You're okay, right? So you take care of yourself, and you will be able to then have more capacity later. It's beautiful. So this week, I want you to be so kind and gentle as we wrap up summer and you start to really feel burned out. And you're like, when the hell do these kids go back to school? That's what, it's okay to feel burned out right now, and it's okay to say no, and it's okay not to have capacity. And I just want you to be really kind and gentle with yourself in these last few weeks of summer and all the time. I want it for you all the time. So if you're listening to this episode, and it's the middle of January, fine. Do it now. It's always okay. You always, always, always have permission to take excellent care of yourself. Okay. I hope you have a great week, and I will see you next time. Hey mama, if you enjoyed this podcast episode, I want to encourage you to do two things. The first is go to my website, calmmamacoaching.com, and get a copy of the Stop Yelling cheat sheet. You'll get a step-by-step breakdown of the most important tool I teach, which is the pause break. And you'll also get 40 ideas to reset your body and balance your nervous system so you don't have to yell at your kids. You can get a copy of that again at my website, calmmamacoaching.com/stop yelling. The other thing I'd love for you to do is go to Apple Podcasts and rate and review this podcast so that other moms can discover empowering and helpful, practical parenting strategies just like you did today. Thanks so much for listening to the podcast. It means a lot to be in your ear every week and to support you on your parenting journey.